Hi, I am Dimitri from Silver and Young Private Wealth, and I'd like to welcome you to a new episode of Behind the Wealth podcast. We explore, investigate, and analyze topics of wealth creation. Hi, and welcome back to our new episode Behind the Wealth. Please note that whatever we say, it is general advice and it is not a personal advice. And if you have any question about the subject we talked today, please contact your accountant or your financial planner, or alternative, give us a call at Silver and Young Private Wealth 9600 Today's subject is a subject that a friend of mine, George, when he gave me back, I think on episodes 8 or 9, about my podcast, and he gave me a very positive feedback for me to improve. One of his questions was, and forgive me, I have a bit notes this time, so not to lose my thoughts. One of the questions is financial education to children when parents are not financially educated. And always very, very sensitive to this part. It is one of the subjects that I love to talk, and I love to think and consider them when education about children, because I believe one way to make this world better is if we leave children better than us in all areas. Spherical, I mean, as a person, better professional, better tradesperson, better investor, better father, better mother, better sister, brother, colleague, employee, employer, in all matters, from spiritual matters to very material financial matters and everything in between. So you leave a child better than you suddenly improve dramatically this world after you passed away. And that's the reason I'm really very keen to this subject more than many other subjects. And George gave me the opportunity to think about a little bit about that. And I really have to admit, I have struggled with the concept when I became a young parent. How can I give something important that I do not have, or I don't master it yet? And I'm still struggling how to be relevant, interested, useful, without being stale or having this sense of or demand of entitlement, which only brings really resentment and bitterness. And this doesn't matter how old you are. You need to develop this, not to be stale, and not to be whatever you learned 20 years ago, that's what you carry for the rest. So I believe that the aim, it is your kid to become better than you, as I said, in a spherical matter. And the purpose of life is very important in every stage of your life, for you to have a positive impact to your immediate family, especially to your children. I'm stating the obvious. You cannot give something we do not have. We cannot give something we do not have. So it is a problem. And the easiest solution is not to give it to them, to your child, something you don't have. And you say the common thing, they will be all right. I didn't do at the end of the day that bad. I turn up to be all right. And the other thing is, of course, the other reaction is the subconscious reaction, the subconscious level. I'm afraid to give them something I do not fully understand, because maybe I lose control. And believe me, this is a very strong subconscious if you think about a little bit more in how can I teach financial education to my children when I don't have it myself. It has to be taken in multiple levels, and we can really spread it in small steps to achieve the most positive outcome. Parents become financially literate by self-developing and discuss what you learn with your child at their level. And I give that example. When I was a young accountant, I always brought in the family dinner the questions and the success of my clients. And I brought it for a particular reason. Number one, to have a conversation around dinner that it is at least half interesting for my children and my spouse. The second is they learn about me, what I do all day, what I stress or what I love, and what I achieved and what I failed. So they have a better picture who I really are with my strengths and my faults. And I think this brings a better relation between parent and child in the long run. And I like the storytelling. Say a story about a subject, 5 minutes conversation, not lecturing. Stop after 5 minutes and move to a different subject. The story has to be true. So always can be remembered if they ask you again later on. The story has to have something to be attractive as a struggle and reward, and it has to be positive. Plenty of time to talk about negative things later on in life. And the story, in the names in the story, the protagonist, I would say, always use Margaret and John Smith, just a very generic Australian names. For the reason, not my child, when my children were young, to be thinking that I'm gossiping for someone I know. And it makes it more interesting also to have the same name, story after story after story. Believe me, it makes it more interesting. The story has also to have a conclusion, to conclude with a resolution, an outcome, and a catharsis. And why this is important? And the question is, for example, a story. I got this client, and this client, he was a person who his parents had an addiction, and they went from precarious places, one to another through dogs. He changed 6 high schools in the 6 years that he needed to finish the school. He changed more than 10 or 12 fosters houses, and he's the head of a big company. So you pay the struggle, and then you pay the reward. But then the question is, what did he do, this person, to be the head of a big company? How can he go for so much underprivileged family to succeed, to become so successful, at least in that level of the professional part of his life? And of course, the children, it depends on the level of that age they are and the interaction and how much you cultivated this interaction. They will have a resolution, they will give you this. And this is the resolution of the outcome, the catharsis that you need to close. So you tell the story about finance, about education, about achievements. And then it is exciting with a constant name that you use all the time is your storytelling names. And then you have the outcome and the catharsis or the resolution. What is the moral of the story? So the child has a total understanding. That's what it happened, and that's the main benefit. And then he sees this on the background for them to process it on their own way, accept it or reject it, or later on come back to you and debate it because they don't agree or they didn't understand something. The other thing I would like to point your attention is surround your children with people who want to use the skills and influence your children with their skills. Using the skills of people love your child and love to be and help you and your child, like grandparents, best friends, family friends, community friends, environment. Use them to help you raise your child and cultivate what you want to give to the child that you don't have. One thing, for example, is maybe you love to have you wanted to be Maradona, but you never became Maradona. Of course, you don't have the skills to train your child to be a top soccer player. So you need to go to a football or soccer team to train him. The similar happens there. The similar situation happens with if you want to train your child financially. You need to be surrounded with someone, with people who talk about money, who are interested about money, and then use these stories about the interaction with you and with these people to the story. The story, as we said, has to be 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. And the younger the child, the smaller the time it is, because of course we lose concentration and we lose attention to the detail. The other thing I would like to say, take small concept as budgeting, investing, work ethics. Have a story to say, then practice and involve them in a simple way in your financial matters. About the story you told them a few days ago. Excite them. They want to be involved with you. Take advantage of the opportunity now. It won't be long lasting. When I was a lot younger, of course, probably 20 years, 25 years ago, and then my kids were really young, I used to remember to invest in shares. And it was my first investment. And I used to buy options and option shares, which is an instrument. If the share goes up, you make a lot more money. If it goes shares, you lose the value of that option, and you don't make money, you lose your whole capital. So I was very excited when the first time I tripled my money. I put $100 and I made $300. It was celebrating. It was at that time my wages, almost my wages, or an important part of my wages at that time. And I celebrated, and I said to my children, and they asked me the questions. Then I'd done it 2-3 times, and I had, of course, successes, $50, $100 here, there, and I was super excited. And one day, of course, I did the same mistakes that all investors do. I took the wrong position on the wrong time, and I lost my $300. And it took me probably 1 week to realize that I didn't share this in the family dinner. I didn't say today, I bought BHP and I bought BHP on that price and I made $50 or $100. For 1 week, I held it back. I didn't say anything. And then I realized, what's education for my child? The education for my children is that I buy, I sell, I always make profit. When they're going to replicate that, it's not going to happen, 100%. Plus what they think I'm the guru of the investment, which I'm not. So false representation for your child, false expectation for them when they invest tomorrow. So it is lie upon lie you build, and saying a story, half truth, and then because the other half the truth that you lost money, you didn't share it with that. So I decided with a lot of pain, and then became easier. Today I stuffed it up. I lost $200. Wow. I lost $200. Yes. A high percentage of my wages. Of course, I explained this is money ready to lose. We don't really rely on this money, and explain all this. The point is to share the profits and the successes, and to share the losses and the failures with your child. Have a budget. Involve them in your budget. How much is your budget for purchasing, say, groceries? Involve them. Make the menu of the week that you want to cook, or your wife, or whoever cooks in your family, and say, we'll have one day pasta with meat, the other day pizza, the other day this, the other day that. What are the ingredients? X, Y, Z. We go to the shop and we buy the ingredients and do whatever it is necessary for them to be involved in your day-to-day life. When they grow older and you can also involve them a little bit more involved in your financials. You want to buy investment property. Why you don't talk with your child about the investment property before you buy? Just as if you want to buy a car, involve them to buy. Why you want to buy a car? Why you want to pay so much? You don't want to pay so much. What do you think? All these is steps that they become more familiar to this decision process, and they understand more where you're coming from, and understand more what you do, and your positive information, the positive that you have on the decision making, the steps, they will imitate it later on in life. Education of children is not just take a book and show it to them, read it and go. No. I've seen a lot of families that They come to me. I remember I have one particular family, which is two or three very good friends of us for a long, long time. And all the kids and the nephews are quite wealthy for the level of their age. Even they are 20, they have a lot of money compared to the age they are and the limited years that they work. And I was thinking how this family, all the extended family, are quite very financially secure even now from the young age. And then you go to another client and we have debts over debts and credit cards and close to bankruptcy and issues and no consistent work. What's the difference between these two? It's family values. It is the example that the parents give by living the life to the child. And the child is like a sponge. He saw everything and absorbs everything, and he does takes inside everything you do, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. It's a recording machine. Records everything you do from the simplest to the most complicated thing. And that's a responsibility for you. You need to improve yourself if you want to have a child better than you. If you want to have a child who is educated, financially educated, it's not just enough to tell him, I sent you to the university to learn about this. No, it's not enough. You can be a doctor earning $200,000, $300,000, but you don't know how to invest. You still don't know how to manage your money. Could be extremely smart, extremely capable, but he never or she never learned how to manage their finance. It could be a person who does very, very humble job and will be a lot wealthier than the doctor. Not because he's stingy, no, because he invests constantly. He understands budgeting. He understands meanings of living. He has purpose, what he does. He just don't go to work and come back. And the only important thing is how much money he makes. No. Creation of wealth is not only a relation how much money you make, but it's also what you do with this money. And this is the important thing you need to teach your child. But how are you going to teach your child? Not lecturing. It's not going to work. You have to teach your life with your personal example. And if you are lucky enough, they take your strengths and they will capitalize on that, and they put their strengths on the top of your strengths, and they will skyrocket exponentially to another level from you. And then you're going to be a blessed father or a mother. And this applies to everything else. It's not just for financial issues. No, as a person, as a character, as a community member, as whatever you are involved, exactly the same thing. Work ethics. If you don't have work ethics, why you expect your child to have work ethics? If you want to bludge and take every sickie possible because it's your right and you have to lie in this or that, why you expect your child to do something different, especially in the early stages? He needs really to go against the current to be different that from the parents. He needs really to be upset of something to be different for what you teach him and you show him through the common life you have for 20 or so years in the early stages and the most important areas, time of their life, the first 4 years, of course, of their life, and of course up to the 16 years old, which is very, very shaping to who we are. This is my thoughts about answering George's question, how we can give financial education to children when we are not financially educated. The sad thing is a lot of parents are financially educated and they are really creators of big wealth. And we see families create of big wealth developers, but the children are hopeless, useless really in managing this great wealth. And I'm considering a lot of times why. It's because the father or the mother who created this wealth didn't spend time to communicate and share their life with the children. They thought if I put him in a very expensive school and I give him the best, I did my duty. And they forget these millions of dollars that all the wealth they created, whatever wealth created, and they have all the willingness to give it to the child or to the children, they didn't build up the foundations for the children to carry this load or this wealth to the next level for their own children and for their grandchildren. And this is one very common mistake we see in a very wealthy families, that the creators of the wealth, they don't bring with them the second generation, and they don't have the same drive, the second generation, as the first.
I hope you have enjoyed our recent episode Behind the Wealth, provided to you by Dimitri from Silver & Young Private Wealth. If you have any questions regarding our recent episode, please email us on pw, P for Peter, W for Word, @silveryoung.com.au. Until next time, have a good day and enjoy life.